Yeah, and we had the trade deadline for the NBA. It's definitely one of the most interesting times in the NBA, seeing if any stars are going to be on the move. And it was kind of, we had a lot of interesting things happen. The main thing going into it was the Lakers always talk themselves into how they're going to get this massive star, going to make this big play, and they're going to trade an absolute scrub to get him. They're like, yeah, we're definitely going to go out there and get Donovan Mitchell, who is the best player on the Cleveland Cavaliers, signed a long-term deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And they're like, well, now that we didn't get him this trade deadline, we're definitely going to trade for him this offseason. I'm like, who? Who are you going to trade for Donovan Mitchell, who is one of the best players or best scorers in the league? He's probably one of the top 25 players in the NBA. And you're like, unless you're trading Anthony Davis or LeBron James, sorry, you're not going to get Donovan Mitchell. How do the Lakers talk themselves into this every single offseason? We're like, yeah, we're going to get this really good player and then sign Spencer Dinwiddie. And that was their massive move.
Yeah, and they do this every time, and there's plenty of examples we can point to. Whether it was with Dame, hey guys, how about Taylor Horton Tucker? And the Trailblazers hung up because they thought it was a prank call. Or hey, we have Julius Randle. Can we have Paul George? No. Hangs up immediately, calls the insane asylum. That's just the life of a Lakers fan.
Yeah, that's just the life of a Lakers fan, but it seems like they do this every offseason. When you did get a big player, you pretty much traded every single player on your team to get Anthony Davis. You had Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, Julius Randle, Lonzo Ball, who is the prince who was promised coming into the NBA, supposed to be the next Magic Johnson, supposed to be more valuable to the Warriors than Steph Curry is, according to LeVar Ball, and LeVar Ball has never lost, so we all had to believe him, and the Lakers ended up believing him, not taking the player whose idol was Kobe Bryant, not taking the player who wanted to be with the Los Angeles Lakers, not taking the player who was the best player in the draft in Jason Tatum. They're like, no, the guy who shoots like this, that's the guy for our team this year. And they were literally talked into it and scammed by LeVar Ball.
Yeah, no, through the entire process. The Celtics literally traded back from 1 to 3 because they knew that the Lakers were going to take Lonzo because LeVar Ball bullied them into taking Lonzo Ball for the Lakers. So they traded. They knew the Sixers were too stupid, and they knew that the Lakers were pretty much bullied into Lonzo. So like, fuck it. This is the best player in the draft. We'll take him at 3.
Yeah, and that's when the Lakers also were like, yeah, you know what's going to change our team that didn't work before, but we're going to try it again? Magic Johnson running basketball operations. And then Magic ended up being sweet-talked into taking Lonzo. I was like, oh, he reminds me so much of myself. Like, what? Because he's a tall guard who passes? Okay.
Yeah, that was a mistake. And poor Lonzo, I know his injury issues has really come up, but he's a fine role player, but to take him at 2 was just terrible.
Yeah, taking him at 2 was terrible, but there was another team similar to the Lakers. We had the Celtics make a pair of new moves here. They acquired Pat Tillman from the Memphis Grizzlies. They needed a little bit more beef on that front line, ended up getting him, and they also traded for Jaden Springer from the Philadelphia 76ers for a second-round pick. And they also receive a protected second-round pick from the Philadelphia 76ers. But Sixers fans were kind of upset because they had just played the Warriors. They had just played the Mavericks, and Jaden Springer made it very tough for Luka and Steph. He's a 21-year-old. Brad Stevens loves his defensive guards, and they're like, okay, this may be a G League player right now, but he also has proven he can be one of the better defenders in the NBA. His current defensive rating is at 112, but couple under the radar moves for the Celtics, but it adds some depth at the guard position. Hopefully someone who can eventually take Peyton Pritchard's spot, or someone like Sam Hauser. And then Pat Tillman, you need someone who can just give you some energy in the regular season and then the playoffs in case Porzingis goes down or has an ankle injury. So I like both of those moves for Boston.
Yeah, no, I've loved what I've seen from Brad Stevens so far as the GM, and he's made some great moves. And these are some other moves that I think are going to make them take it over the hump against teams like the Heat and Bucks.
Yeah, and then not too much from the Bucks. They traded Robin Lopez, so that's cool. And then they received the draft rights to Demetrius Agravanus. That's cool.
Household name.
The Grizzlies waive Victor Oladipo.
That's okay. That's good.
And then the Philadelphia 76ers acquire Buddy Hield. The Pacers get Furkan Korkmaz and Doug McDermott. And they also get a 2024 and a 2029 second round pick, some cash considerations. Is Buddy Hield the missing piece in Philadelphia?
Man, that's a tough one. I don't know. I feel like Buddy Hield has been one of those guys who's been in trade talks since his career started. And I remember the Lakers were torn between him and Russell Westbrook. He's a fine player. I think he's good. There seems to be like a cult following with Buddy Hield, especially on Twitter for some reason, like as if he's the next coming of Jesus. But hey, now he's in Philadelphia. Is he better than James Harden? That question will be answered in Philadelphia. And I'm sure Philly fans, as greasy as they are, will probably say Buddy Hield is better.
Yeah, probably Buddy Hield. I mean, he'll definitely win a game without Joel Embiid against the Boston Celtics in a playoff game. He'll definitely, in a game 5, drop 46 points and 10 assists. Definitely something Buddy Hield can do. But you still don't solve the problem of perimeter defense. And you can't guard anyone on the perimeter. And Joel Embiid still gets defended very well by Al Horford, and he still gets tired in the second round. So unless you increased Joel Embiid's cardio stats and his durability, not really a big addition. Sure. Do you have some more shooting with Buddy Hield? Yes. Is he a turnstile on defense? Still, yes. You still have Tyrese Maxey there. You're still the team, though, that was like, you know what we should do? Jimmy Butler, I know he was the number one guy with the Chicago Bulls. We know he can take a team to the finals in Miami, but you know what we should do? We should sign Tobias Harris. That's a better move, I think, than keeping Jimmy Butler. So you're still the team that chose Tobias over Jimmy Butler. Maybe if you still had Butler, you would have gotten to a finals right now, or even, I don't know, a Eastern Conference finals and passed, the second round.
Yeah, but no, Tobias Harris.
But the biggest part of this trade, and the thing that the Milwaukee Bucks have not had all year, is perimeter defense. They're like, let's bring in Damian Lillard to pair with Giannis. We'll keep Giannis happy, but we'll also trade Drew Holiday, who's our best perimeter on-ball defender. He was the one guarding Jaylen Brown. He's the one guarding Jason Tatum. And you know how we fix that? With Patrick Beverley. So now Damian Lillard is on the same team as Patrick Beverley. These two have butted heads in the past, but do you think this solves the irreparable, unfixable at time, it seemed, problem in Milwaukee that is perimeter defense?
Maybe to some extent, but my problem is not what he can do for their perimeter defenses. What can he do to that locker room? Because this is the same team that just fired their head coach mid-season when they were second in the East, and they replaced him with Doc Rivers. And then I know that Dame and Giannis have been, kind of figuring things out that first season, but it seems like there's something in the air in Milwaukee that we haven't quite figured out yet. I feel like there's a collapse imminent there. And you go in there and you get Pat Bev. And Pat Beverley, if he was as good as his shit talk, my God, would he be up there with Michael Jordan? Yeah. Honest to God. He talks so much shit for somebody who is a role player. And this isn't even a disrespect. I like him as a player. I like the grime. But I don't think for a team that's having chemistry issues and having all these issues internally, getting Pat Beverley, I don't think this is going to help them long term.
You know what we need with Giannis? Less floor spacing. And as much as we love Patrick Beverley on the show, and as much as he is a pest, Russell Westbrook saying that he runs around waving his hands, chasing people, so it looks like he's doing a lot, but really he's not doing anything at all. We need less floor spacing for Giannis and another guard who can't shoot. Yeah, that seems like that's a genius move. And then another guy in that locker room who's going to cause chemistry issues. And then after he leaves Milwaukee, he's going to go on this tangent probably about Thanasis Antetokounmpo and say, yeah, the Bucks weren't using me right, and it was all because Thanasis was on the team.
Yeah. Can't wait for that podcast.
And then we had drama in Dallas where the Dallas Mavericks could not handle the juicy booty that is Grant Williams. They went in the locker room. They're like, dude, that is too much cake. I turned around. I was like, is that Kim K? Is that Ice Spice, Nicki Minaj, or Cardi B? You're like, no, that is the round ass of Grant Williams. And they just couldn't handle it. They said Grant Williams rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And at one point, it came down to him switching his Luka Doncic shoes to Jason Tatum. And after that, Luka was like, no, get this guy out of Dallas. Send him to the black hole, the just wasteland that if it's not the Pistons at this point, the Magic have turned it around a little bit. It's the Hornets. The
Yep.
Hornets are the other worst team in the NBA right now. And now Grant Williams is kind of stuck in the sunken place, and they traded away again Seth Curry. He's now gone, so you lose another shooter, but you get PJ Washington. He's another good like wing. He's athletic, but he's not the shooter of Grant Williams and Seth Curry. And I really like those guys for their floor spacing. I know Grant Williams is undersized, but you also just signed this guy to a massive contract, and the
Mm.
Celtics let him go for a reason. They're like, yes, we love Grant Williams on our team, but do we want to pay him that much money? Absolutely not.
No, and I think he's getting what, $20 million or something. He's getting a big contract.
Yeah.
But now the Hornets are going to have to pay that. And then Seth Curry, who seems to have played for every single team in the NBA at this point, so he gets to add the Hornets to his list. I know that he's from Charlotte, just like Steph is. So coming home, maybe he'll have some more games, and Dell will be in the audience. So that's good for Seth Curry, I guess.
Yeah, and then after that, the Knicks made a trade with the Pistons. They got rid of Evan Fournier, Malechi Flynn, Quentin Grimes, Ryan, whatever his last name is, 2 future second round picks, some cash consideration. But you get Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic has always been a good shooter. He can get hot at times. Does this solve any problems for the Knicks? Does it get them past the second round? Probably not, but at least you made a move. You did something.
Yeah, I've actually really liked what I've seen from the Knicks this year. I like when they went after Anunoby. I liked them getting RJ Barrett out of the building because I just don't think it was working out for them. So I actually do like the moves that they've made, and I don't think they're necessarily past the second round team, but I do think that they're considerably better now.
Yeah, they're definitely considerably better. So credit to the Knicks for at least staying active and trying to get a little bit better each year. You're just missing that one big star, and then you have Julius Randle there, who at one point was the worst playoff performer, not just last year, but maybe of all time.
Worst shooting percentage of all time.
Yeah, worst shooting percentage of all time, but we'll see what the Knicks do. But another good move from them. And then the Thunder, I really like this trade. Trade for Gordon Hayward. Another trade with the Hornets, who are very active, where you trade away whatever his first name, Mitchich, Trey Mann, David Bertans. The Hornets also get 2 second round picks and some cash considerations. But you like this Gordon Hayward trade?
Yeah, so for Gordon Hayward, he's somebody who I feel like has been good everywhere he's played. The issue has been his injury history, but for him, I mean, what the Thunder really need him to be is a shooter and a veteran presence, because right now they're one of the youngest teams in the NBA. So I saw this move. I said, you know what? Gordon Hayward, he's been in the league for about a decade. He's a decent shooter, and I think that locker room presence, he's not a guy that has a big ego. He's not quite to the level of the guy I'm about to mention, but kind of at the end of his career, a JJ Redick figure. Veteran shooter, can help those young guys mature. I think that he's one of those guys that's going to fit well with them.
Yeah, I think he's gonna fit well. I just like Gordon Hayward in Oklahoma. I think that's a good fit. You're like in Big Sky country there. He's gonna have a nice gamer rig set up there, and I think he's someone who's good to sit on the end of your bench, and he can just be that calming presence. He can still get a bucket, has that turnaround shot there, and then he can help Josh Giddey work through some of his emotional issues. You still have Shea on that team. It's a very young team at this point, trying to get to the next steps. He can let them know kind of what happened in Boston, some of the pitfalls there, but the Thunder are always one of those teams who make really good trades, acquire a lot of draft picks. So I like Gordon Hayward on this team. And then you really didn't give up too much to get him. So I like this a lot. And probably the most active team was the Hornets this offseason. And they got probably 10 second round picks at this point.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think for this is the team that has to blow up. Now I'm curious if in the offseason, will they keep LaMelo? Will he be on the move? What their next steps are? Are they going to trade some of these other guys that are there? I think that they need to blow it up and just start all new.
Yeah, blow up and start all new. And then second round picks for me, it's kind of a pet peeve because it's something that's thrown in NBA trades. But unless you're good at drafting or you get really lucky, I mean, it's kind of like trading for a 5th or a 6th round pick in the NFL. Can you get an elite guy? Sure. Are you going to get an elite guy? Maybe. But it's
Yeah.
also just something you can package in a trade. But I'm not sure what the Hornets are doing. But now you have LaMelo, Seth Curry. You have some shooters on that team. Get rid of PJ Washington. Maybe you can do something, but you still need, 2 to 3 really good players on that team.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the second round pick, Laura, you think about it, you look at the old NBA drafts and these 30 picks that they take in the second round, you're lucky if maybe five of them pan out and be even just like active role players. So, like the Draymonds, the Jokic, and some of these other figures that have been great in the second round, those are not the norm.
Yeah.
And if they can hit on one, if they can get a nice role player from this, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Hornets, you did something. So you were active this trade deadline, moved a lot of players around, helped facilitate a lot of trades. So at least for being a facilitator team, for making a lot of things happen, I'll give you credit there. And then I just have to talk about this player because he is a star in this league. No
Friend of
one
the
really,
show.
friend of the show, Kelly Olynyk. He may be the Cole Kmet of the NBA just without the talent. But Kelly Olynyk, he's going home. He was watching Fast and Furious 7. He was thinking, it's been a long time without you, my friend. And I'll tell you all about it when I'm sipping on maple syrup again in Canada. Kelly Olynyk, you're free from the Jazz. You're on the Toronto Raptors now. You're going back home to Canada. Salute to you, Kelly, friend of the show. We'll see you again when you're back on the pod.
Yeah, when you're back on the pod. And the Jazz get Wilt Chamberlain's grandson, Otto Porter. And then I can't see the rest of that compensation. Kira Lewis and a first round pick. Good for the Jazz. The Jazz have so many first round picks at this point. I like what they're doing. So it's a shame that they got rid of Kelly Olynyk, but now Kelly Olynyk can hang out with the Nelk boys and Drake, and sip it up on some maple syrup.
Yeah, I can sip on some maple syrup there, but it's kind of credit to Danny Ainge for finessing a first round pick from the Toronto Raptors. It seems like Danny Ainge is just the master of acquiring picks, but he really doesn't know what to do with them. So if you want to rebuild a team, you want to acquire a lot of capital. He is one of the best traders of all time, but when it comes to making that big move, unless he can call his best friend and be like, "Hey, can I trade you Al Jefferson, who fell off a cliff after they traded him for Kevin Garnett?" I'm like, okay, call up Kevin McHale, and then Ray Allen, he signs there. So I don't know, unless he has any other friends that he can trade a massive star to Utah. I just don't see Utah. I don't know. I want them to be good, but like